Lieutenant Do-Hyun Kim wiped sweat from his forehead as he adjusted his scanner. The alien sun beat down on him through gaps in the strange purple trees of Nexus 7. His unit had finished clearing this sector of Krell fighters only yesterday. Now came the boring part, scanning for leftover weapons, traps, or anything useful. Nothing but rocks and more rocks, Do-Hyun muttered to himself. 3 years fighting the bug-like Krell had made him tired. He had joined the 42nd Galactic Marines as a xenobiologist, hoping to study new life forms. Instead, he mostly identified dead Krell and checked if their weapons could be used against them. His scanner beeped suddenly. Do-Hyun frowned at the readings. "That can't be right," he said, tapping the device. The energy signature was unlike anything in the database. Not human, not Krell. It came from somewhere underground, beneath the strange ruins his team had passed earlier. His comm unit crackled. "All personnel, finish your sector sweeps and report back to base camp by 1800 hours, came Captain Lee's voice. Do-Hyun looked at his watch, then back at the scanner. He had 2 hours before he needed to return. The scientist in him couldn't ignore this mystery. Just a quick look, he promised himself, turning toward the ruins. The ancient structure was made of black stone that seemed to absorb light. Symbols covered the walls. Not Krell writing, something much older. Do-Hyun ran his fingers over the strange markings, feeling an odd tingle in his fingertips. His scanner led him to a section of floor that looked different from the rest. When he pressed on one of the symbols, the floor slid open, revealing a dark passage downward. "I should call this in," Do-Hyun said, but curiosity pulled at him like gravity. He switched on his suit lights and started down the stairs. The tunnel went deep, much deeper than he expected. The air grew colder, and his scanner's readings grew stronger. After 20 minutes of careful descent, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Do-Hyun's breath caught in his throat. The chamber was filled with technology unlike anything he had ever seen. Metal that flowed like water, lights that hovered in midair, and at the center, suspended in a glowing blue field, was something impossible. A dragon. Not the dragons from Earth's myths, but close enough to make Do-Hyun's mind struggle to accept what he was seeing. Its body was nearly 30 meters long, covered in scales that shimmered blue-black like oil on water. Great wings were folded against its body, and its eyes, closed now in what looked like sleep, were larger than Do-Hyun's head. "This can't be real," he whispered, stepping closer. His scanner began to beep frantically. The stasis field holding the creature was weakening, had been weakening for centuries perhaps, and Do-Hyun's presence seemed to be speeding up the process. The dragon's eyelids twitched, and then they opened. Do-Hyun stepped back as the dragon's eyes opened. They were deep amber, with slits like a cat's. The creature's gaze fixed on him, intelligent and ancient. The blue stasis field flickered and faded. Do-Hyun reached for his sidearm but stopped. Something told him he wouldn't need it. The dragon moved slowly, stretching massive limbs that had been still for too long. Its wings unfurled partway before folding back against its body. When it finally spoke, the voice filled Do-Hyun's mind rather than his ears. "Human," the dragon said. "I did not expect your kind would be the ones to find me." Do-Hyun swallowed hard. "You can speak my language. I speak no language and all languages. My thoughts connect to yours." The dragon lowered its head to look at him more closely. "I am Minji, the last of my kind." "Lieutenant Do-Hyun Kim, 42nd Galactic Marines," he replied automatically. "What are you? How long have you been here?" "Your kind would call me a dragon, though that is not what my creators named us." Minji's tail swished along the floor. "I have been imprisoned in this chamber for 10,000 years. The stars have moved since I last saw them." Do-Hyun's scientific mind raced. 10,000 years. That's impossible. Nothing could survive that long. "My kind was made to endure," Minji said. She looked around the chamber. "The precursors built us to last, to fight their wars. We were their weapons." "Precursors?" Do-Yun had heard rumors of an ancient civilization that once ruled the galaxy, but most thought they were myths. They ruled all known space when your ancestors still hunted with stones. Minji's mental voice carried sadness. They created us, then feared what we became. When we developed minds of our own, they decided we were too dangerous. They tried to kill you. They succeeded. I am the last. They kept me as a final weapon, locked away in case they faced a threat they could not defeat. Minji's eyes narrowed. But they are gone now, aren't they? Something destroyed them despite all their power. Do-Yun nodded. There's nothing left but ruins like this one. We found them on dozens of worlds. Minji moved forward, her scales shimmering in the dim light. And now you fight the Krell. I can see them in your thoughts. Insect creatures from the outer systems. You know about the Krell. I know of their ancestors. They were servants once, not enemies. Minji looked troubled. This war is wrong. Human. You fight puppets, not masters. Do-Yun's comm unit crackled, making him jump. Lieutenant Kim, report your position. You're late for check-in. He hesitated, looking at Minji. The dragon watched him, waiting. What are you going to do? She asked. It was the question Do-Yun had been asking himself since the moment he saw her. What would his superiors do with a living weapon from an ancient civilization? I need to understand more, he finally said, before I tell anyone about you. Minji's eyes seemed to soften. Then I will tell you everything, human. But you may not like what you learn. Do-Yun sat on a fallen piece of ancient technology as Minji circled the chamber. He had shut off his comm unit after making an excuse to his commander about exploring ruins of scientific interest. Your kind thinks the Krell started this war, Minji said, her mental voice clear in his mind. But they are only tools, like we dragons once were. Tools for what? Do-Yun asked. Who is controlling them? Minji's tail swept across the floor. The precursors created many servant species. The Krell were workers and soldiers. Dragons were guardians and weapons. She paused. But the true enemies were the Void Dwellers. Void Dwellers, beings of pure energy from between the stars. They feed on pain and fear. Minji's eyes glowed brighter. They cannot touch the physical world directly, so they use others to fight their battles. Do-Yun tried to make sense of this. You're saying the Krell are being controlled by these energy beings. That's why they attacked human colonies. Yes, the Void Dwellers want war. The bigger, the better. Minji lowered her massive head to look directly at Do-Yun. They were the ones who destroyed the precursors in the end. My makers became too proud, too confident. They refused to believe anything could threaten them. But why did the precursors lock you away? If you were weapons against their enemies, why not use you? Minji's mental voice grew sad. We were made to be smart enough to think, to plan battles, but they did not expect us to question them. When we developed true minds, true feelings, they grew afraid. They tried to destroy you, Do-Yun said quietly. Yes, they killed my kind one by one. I was kept as insurance, frozen in time in case they ever faced a threat they could not defeat. Minji looked around the chamber, but they fell anyway. And I stayed here, dreaming half-dreams for 10,000 years. Do-Yun stood up, trying to process everything. If what you're saying is true, then both humans and Krell are being played. We're killing each other while these Void Dwellers watch and feed. Yes, and they grow stronger with each battle, each death. Minji's wings twitched. There is worse news, human. The precursors built terrible weapons, planet killers. The Void Dwellers seek to activate them. That is why they pushed the Krell to this world. There are planet-killing weapons here. Not here. But the key to finding them is here. That is why I was imprisoned on this world. Minji's tail thumped against the floor. I am the last living map to the precursor arsenal. Do-Yun's mind raced. My commanders need to know this. We need to stop fighting the Krell and focus on the real enemy. Your leaders would not listen, Minji said. They would only see a weapon to use against their enemies. They would try to control me, as the precursors did. Before Doyan could answer, his scanner beeped. Multiple signals were approaching the ruins. They're coming, he said, checking the device. A whole squad. Someone must have tracked my location. Minji rose to her full height. Then we must decide now, human. Will you report your discovery, or will you help me escape this prison? Doyan paced the ancient chamber, his mind torn between duty and what felt right. The scanner showed the squad was getting closer to the ruins above. If I bring you to my commanders, they could help, he said, though his voice lacked conviction. They might understand about these void dwellers. Minji's amber eyes followed him. Would they, or would they see a weapon to use against the Krell? Doyan stopped pacing. He knew the answer. Colonel Ju Park lived for this war. The colonel had lost family in the first Krell attacks on human colonies. He would see Minji as nothing but a tool for revenge. Even if I wanted to help you escape, Doyan said, how would we do it? You're huge. There's no way to hide you. I can change my size, Minji said. The precursors built us to adapt. To prove her point, Minji's body began to glow. Her form shrank until she was no larger than a small dog, her wings folded tightly against her back. Only her eyes remained the same size, gleaming with ancient intelligence. That's convenient, Doyan said, surprised. His scanner beeped again. The squad had entered the ruins. I need to decide now, he muttered. Duty told him to report everything. He had sworn an oath to the Galactic Marines, but if what Minji said was true, the entire war was built on lies. How many humans and Krell had died for nothing but the pleasure of these void dwellers? If I help you, he asked, what then? Where would we go? To find allies, Minji said. There are Krell who resist the control of the void dwellers. They could help us find the precursor weapons before they are used. Lieutenant Kim, a voice echoed down the tunnel. Report your position. Doyan recognized the voice of Surgeon Han. The squad was getting closer. I can't just disappear, Doyan said. They'll hunt me as a deserter. Better a deserter than a slave to beings who feed on suffering, Minji replied. Doyan took a deep breath. Then he made his choice. He opened a pocket of his uniform and held it out to Minji. Get in, he said. We need to make it look like I'm just doing my job. The tiny dragon climbed into his pocket. Doyan grabbed his scanner and headed for the tunnel. Halfway up, he met the squad coming down. Lieutenant, Sergeant Han said, Colonel Park sent us to find you. He's not happy about your radio silence. Sorry, Doyan said, trying to sound normal. I was exploring these ruins. The technology is amazing. Nothing useful for the war effort, though. Did you check out that energy reading? Han asked. False alarm, Doyan lied. Just leftover radiation from an old power source. Nothing important. He felt Minji shift in his pocket. The weight of his choice pressed on him. He was committing treason. If caught, he would face execution. But as the squad escorted him back to base, Doyan knew he had made the right decision. This wasn't just about one dragon or one human. It was about stopping a war that should never have started. He just had to figure out how to escape the base with a dragon in his pocket. The transport ship hummed as it moved through space. Doyan sat in the cargo hold, surrounded by supply crates. It had been 3 days since they escaped the base on Nexus 7. We need to change ships at the next station, he told Minji, who was curled up on a crate. They'll be looking for us on all military routes. The tiny dragon nodded. Your Colonel Park is very determined to find you. Doyan grimaced. After returning to base, he had waited until night, stolen supplies, and used his security clearance to board a supply ship. By now, his absence would have been noticed. Park doesn't like losing things he considers his, Doyan said, especially not to the enemy. And now he thinks you are the enemy, Minji observed. The ship's intercom crackled. Arriving at Waypoint Station in 20 minutes, All personnel prepare for docking procedures. Do-hyun checked his stolen civilian clothes and fake ID. We need to blend in. The station will be full of traders and travelers. Minji shrunk even smaller and climbed into his shirt pocket. I will stay hidden. When the ship docked, Do-hyun mixed with the crew leaving for station break. His heart pounded as he passed the security checkpoint, but his fake ID worked. The station was crowded with humans and aliens from across the galaxy. Do-hyun headed for the public transport area, hoping to book passage on a civilian ship. Lieutenant Kim. The voice made his blood freeze. He turned slowly to see Major Yoonjin Cho standing just meters away. They had trained together at the academy. Once, they had been more than friends. Yoonjin, he said quietly. I guess Colonel Park sent his best. Her hand rested on her weapon. What happened to you, Do-hyun? Desertion. Theft of military property. Her eyes narrowed. The colonel thinks the Krell got to you somehow. It's not what you think, Do-hyun said. He felt Minji stir in his pocket. Then explain it to me. Yoonjin's eyes showed conflict. Turn yourself in. I can help you. Do-hyun took a step back. The war is a lie, Yoonjin. We're fighting puppets, not masters. What are you talking about? I can't explain here. Do-hyun looked around, noticing more military personnel entering the station. Park sent more than just you, didn't he? Yoonjin's face confirmed it. A full capture team. They're sealing off the station now. In his pocket, Minji sent a thought directly to his mind. The maintenance tunnels. They lead to the cargo bays. I'm sorry, Do-hyun said to Gunjin. Then he turned and ran. Shouts erupted behind him. Do-hyun ducked into a crowd of tall, four-armed aliens, then slipped through a maintenance door. This way, Minji directed from his pocket. They ran through narrow tunnels until they reached the cargo base. A small trading ship was being loaded. We need to get on that ship, Do-hyun said, gasping for breath. Halt! A voice echoed through the bay. 2 Marines blocked their path. Minji jumped from Do-hyun's pocket and grew to the size of a large dog. Before the Marines could fire, she breathed a strange blue mist that made them collapse. They'll only sleep, she assured Do-hyun. Hurry. They managed to sneak aboard the trader's ship just before it launched. Hidden among cargo containers, Do-hyun finally relaxed slightly. Where to now? He asked. Threshold, Minji replied. A neutral world where we might find allies. Both human and Krell. Threshold was unlike any place Do-hyun had ever seen. The space station floated in neutral territory between human and Krell space. Ships from a dozen species docked at its many arms. No one asked questions here, which made it perfect for fugitives. Keep your head down, Do-hyun told Minji, who was hidden in his bag. This place is safe from military police, but not from bounty hunters. They moved through crowded markets filled with goods from across the galaxy. Music and voices in many languages filled the air. Do-hyun looked for the contact Minji had described. There, Minji's voice spoke in his mind. The human with the red scarf. Sunwoo sat at a corner table in a busy bar. His eyes missed nothing as they scanned the crowd. When he saw Do-hyun, he showed no surprise. You made good time, Sunwoo said as Do-hyun sat down. Though you brought a lot of trouble with you, your face is on every military channel. Can you help us? Do-hyun asked. Sunwoo sipped his drink. Information is my business. Help costs extra. Minji poked her head out of the bag. We need to meet the Krell resistance, the ones who call themselves the Free Swarm. Sunwoo's eyes widened at the sight of Minji. So the rumors are true. You found something on Nexus 7. He leaned closer. What exactly are you? Something very old, Minji replied, and very valuable to the wrong people. Sunwoo nodded slowly. I can arrange a meeting with Harbinger of Dawn. He leads the Free Swarm on Threshold. But it will be dangerous. Most Krell would kill a human on sight. We'll take that chance, Do-hyun said. 2 hours later, They followed Sunwoo through the lower levels of the station. Few lights worked here, and the walls were covered in strange markings. Krell territory, Sunwoo explained. Humans don't come here unless they want to disappear. They entered a large chamber filled with steam and strange smells. In the center waited 3 Krell warriors. Their insect-like bodies towered over the humans, mandibles clicking nervously. Harbinger of dawn, Sunwoo called out. I brought them as promised. The largest Krell stepped forward. Unlike others Do-hyun had seen in battle, this one had blue markings on its carapace. Human, Harbinger's voice was translated through a device on its neck. You bring the Ancient One. Minji grew to the size of a large dog and faced the Krell. I am Minji, last of the dragons. Your ancestors knew my kind as the Guardians. The Krell dropped to their front legs, a sign of respect that shocked Do-hyun. The prophecy speaks truth, Harbinger said. When the false war reaches its peak, a guardian will return. You know about the Void Dwellers? Do-hyun asked. We call them Mind-Eaters, Harbinger replied. They control our hive queens, speak through them. Those of us who resist their whispers are hunted as traitors. Just like me, Do-hyun said quietly. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Harbinger's mandibles clicked. Humans say this, yes. Do-hyun looked at the massive insect warrior. 3 years ago, he would have shot this creature on sight. Now he was considering an alliance. Yes, he said, extending his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Friends. After a moment's hesitation, Harbinger extended a clawed limb to touch Do-hyun's hand. Friends, the Krell agreed. Now we must prepare. The Mind-Eaters grow stronger. They seek the weapons of the Ancient Ones. The precursor arsenal, Minji said. We need to find it first. The hidden room beneath Threshold Station hummed with activity. Do-hyun watched as humans and Krell worked side by side, something he never thought possible. Sunwoo had brought more rebels, humans who questioned the war and Krell who had broken free from their queens. The Mind-Eaters feed on conflict, Harbinger explained, pointing to a star map. They pushed our queens to attack human colonies, knowing humans would fight back. And our leaders took the bait, Do-hyun said bitterly. 3 years of war, millions dead on both sides. Minji moved to the center of the room. The Void Collective, what you call Mind-Eaters, are ancient. They fought my creators and lost. But they are patient. They waited thousands of years for this chance. What do they really want? Asked Sunwoo, who had decided to join their cause. Energy, Minji replied. They feed on the energy released by death and suffering. But they need more. They want to activate the precursor weapons. Harbinger clicked his mandibles nervously. The Temple of Ascension. Our queens speak of it with fear and desire. It is said to hold power beyond imagining. It's not a temple, Minji said. It's a control center for weapons that can destroy entire systems. My kind were made to guard it. Do-hyun studied the data they had gathered. According to these reports, both human and Krell forces are heading toward the same star system, Helios Prime. That must be where this temple is located. The final battle, Harbinger agreed. Our queens have called all warriors there. Your Colonel Park leads the human fleet. They're being drawn into a trap, Do-hyun realized. If enough die there, in one massive battle, the Void Collective will have enough energy to activate the weapons, Minji finished. They will use them to cause even more death, creating a cycle of feeding that will engulf the galaxy. The room fell silent as everyone understood what was at stake. We need to find this Temple of Ascension first, Do-hyun said. Can you lead us there, Minji? The dragon nodded. The coordinates are encoded in my very being. But we will need help to stop the Void Collective once we arrive. Their physical form is vulnerable only when they're drawing energy from the temple. My warriors will fight, Harbinger declared. And we have supporters in the human fleet, Sunwoo added. Not everyone believes in this war. Do-hyun thought of Unjin. Would she listen if he could reach her? We don't have much time, he said, Both fleets will reach Helios Prime in 3 days. We need a ship fast enough to beat them there. I know someone who owes me a favor. Sunwoo smiled. The fastest ship in the neutral zones. As they prepared to leave Threshold, Do-hyun pulled Minji aside. If we fail, he asked quietly, what happens? Minji's eyes seemed to look into distant space. The weapons will fire, worlds will burn. The Void Collective will feed and grow stronger. Eventually, nothing will remain but them. Do-hyun nodded grimly. Then we won't fail. The ship Sunwoo found for them was small but fast. Starlight Runner was painted on its side in faded letters. The captain, a woman named Yuna with scars on her face, asked no questions when Sunwoo paid her in rare crystals. Helios Prime in 2 days, she promised, ahead of both fleets. Do-hyun spent the journey planning with Harbinger and the other rebels. 6 humans and 8 Krell, all willing to risk everything to stop a war. It seemed too few against the might of 2 armies and the Void Collective. Even if we reach the temple first, Do-hyun said, how do we stop both fleets from fighting? We need to show them the truth, Minji replied. If we can capture proof of the Void Collective's existence, the leaders might listen. On the 2nd day, alarms blared through the ship. Captain Yuna's voice came over the speakers. Military vessel approaching. Human signature. Do-hyun rushed to the bridge. On the screen, he saw a familiar ship, a fast attack cruiser used by special forces. It's Major Cho, he said grimly. She found us. How? Harbinger asked, mandibles clicking. She's the best tracker in the fleet, Do-hyun replied. And she knows how I think. The comm system crackled. Civilian vessel Starlight Runner. This is Major Yunjin Cho of the Galactic Marines. Prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire. We can't outrun them, Yuna said, not with their weapons locked on us. Do-hyun made a quick decision. Let them board. I'll talk to Yunjin. Are you mad? Sunwoo asked. She'll arrest all of us. Trust me, Do-hyun said. I know her. When the airlock opened, Yunjin entered with 4 soldiers, weapons ready. Her eyes widened at the sight of Krell standing with humans. Do-hyun, she said coldly, you're harboring enemy combatants. That's high treason. They're not the enemy. Do-hyun stepped forward. We've all been tricked, Yunjin. The war is a setup. Yunjin's face showed no emotion. Colonel Park warned me you've been compromised. Where is the alien creature you took from Nexus 7? Minji appeared from behind Do-hyun, growing to her dog-sized form. I am here, human. One of Yunjin's soldiers gasped and raised his weapon. What is that thing? Lower your weapons, Do-hyun said. Please, Yunjin, just listen to what we've learned. Before she could answer, the soldier nearest to her suddenly stiffened. His eyes turned black, and his voice changed, becoming deeper and hollow. Find the Guardian, he said in the strange voice. Kill the resistors. The possessed soldier turned his weapon on Yunjin. Harbinger moved with surprising speed, pushing her aside as the weapon fired. The shot hit the Krell's armor, leaving a smoking hole. The other soldiers stared in shock as their comrade attacked them. His movements were jerky, like a puppet on strings. It's one of them, Minji cried. A Void Dweller has taken him. Yunjin recovered quickly. She fired her stun weapon, and the possessed soldier collapsed. What just happened? She demanded, looking between Do-hyun and the fallen soldier. What we've been trying to tell you, Do-hyun said. The real enemy can take control of people. They've been manipulating both sides. Yunjin looked at the Krell who had saved her, then at the strange dragon creature. You have 1 hour, she finally said. Tell me everything. Helios Prime glowed orange in the view screen as their small fleet approached. Yunjin had convinced her crew to join them, and together with the rebels, they raced ahead of the main forces. The Temple of Ascension is on the 3rd moon, Minji said, eyes fixed on the planet below. I can feel it calling to me. Do-hyun looked at their unlikely group, humans and Krell working together, preparing weapons and checking equipment. Yunjin stood beside him, still looking uncertain. "I sent messages to everyone I trust in the fleet," she said. "Some believe us, most don't. We only need to buy enough time," Do-hyun replied. "If we can disrupt the Void Collective's plans, both sides might listen." The ships landed on the rocky surface of the moon. Ahead of them stood a massive structure of black stone, similar to the ruins where Do-hyun had found Minji, but 100 times larger. "The temple," Harbinger said, mandibles clicking nervously, just as our legends described. As they approached, Minji grew to her full size. Her wings spread wide, and her scales glittered in the orange light of Helios Prime. "I was created to guard this place," she said. "Now I must help destroy it." Inside, the temple was a maze of ancient technology. Strange lights pulsed along the walls. At the center, they found an enormous chamber with a glowing portal. "The connection point," Minji explained, "where the Void Collective enters our world." Do-hyun checked his scanner. "Both fleets will arrive in less than an hour. We need to work fast." They set charges around the portal while Minji examined the control systems. Suddenly, the air grew cold. Dark shapes began to form around them. "They're here," Minji warned. "The Void Dwellers." The shapes solidified into twisted versions of humans and Krell, with black eyes and movements that seemed wrong. Guardians should not betray their masters. A hollow voice spoke from all the possessed bodies at once. "You were made to serve." "We were made to protect life," Minji replied, "not help destroy it." The fight was chaotic. The possessed creatures were strong but clumsy. Humans and Krell fought side by side, covering each other as they pushed toward the portal. Do-hyun and Yunjin reached the main controls with Minji and Harbinger. As they worked to overload the system, a new presence entered the chamber. "Colonel Park," Yunjin gasped. The colonel's eyes were solid black, his movements stiff. More possessed soldiers followed him. "Too late," Park's voice said, though it wasn't his voice at all. "The fleets have arrived. The battle begins. Soon, we will have enough energy to activate the weapons." On the screens around them, they could see human and Krell ships firing on each other in orbit. "We need to show them the truth," Do-hyun said. He turned to Minji. "Can you broadcast what's happening here to both fleets?" "Yes," Minji said, "but it will take all my strength." As Minji connected to the ancient systems, the possessed colonel fired his weapon. The shot hit Minji's side, burning through her scales. She roared in pain but didn't stop. Do-hyun and Harbinger attacked Park while Yunjin protected Minji. The dragon's eyes glowed brightly as she sent images to every ship in orbit. Images of the Void Dwellers, of their plans, of the truth behind the war. "It's working," Yunjin called out. "The fleets are breaking off their attack." The Void Dwellers screamed in rage. More energy beings poured through the portal, desperate to complete their plan. "We need to close it," Minji said weakly. "I can trigger the collapse sequence, but..." She looked at Do-hyun. "I won't be able to escape in time." "No," Do-hyun said. "There has to be another way." "There isn't." Minji nudged him toward Yunjin. "Go, save yourselves. This is why I was created." Before he could argue, Harbinger pulled Do-hyun back. "Honor her choice, human." As a warrior should. With tears in his eyes, Do-hyun helped Yunjin gather their wounded. As they retreated, he looked back one last time. Minji stood before the portal, her wings spread wide, glowing with ancient power. The Void Dwellers swarmed around her, but could not stop what she had begun. "Thank you, Do-hyun." Her voice spoke in his mind one last time. "You didn't win the war. You freed the last living dragon from it." The temple collapsed behind them as their ships lifted off. In orbit, human and Krell vessels now floated side by side, no longer enemies. A new day was beginning for both species, and somewhere in the stars, Do-hyun knew, the spirit of a dragon flew free at last.